I had never seen anything so large. You know, that was definitely far hotter than anything I had ever seen in Tucson. I thought, I'm great, you know. This is going to picture this, a voice that could stop time, a face the world adored, as we played some hoot there and everyone went crazy. Linda Ronstadt was a storm in disguise in addition to being a star. However, what if there was something much more erratic concealed beneath the glitz? What if she was the spark rather than the victim of scandal? The person who destroyed friendships, blasted sessions, and left devastation in recording booths and hotel hallways? What if Linda Ronstadt in real life was an uncontrollable lady who became enemies as a result? Instead of weeping, there was a trail of mayhem behind that golden voice. She started feuds, had affairs that broke people's hearts, and never expressed regret for her betrayals. Linda didn't have a passionate love story. She placed the explosives in a minefield. She wasn't devastated. The detonator was her. She wasn't merely attracted to strong men. One feeling at a time, she broke them down. She had long-term relationships with Don Henley, Jerry Brown, and G.D. Souther. The other person was frequently left reeling from these high-stakes encounters. Linda thrived when she was in charge, and she struck first when love threatened to soften her edges. When things fell apart, as they always did, she hurled verbal daggers that went deeper than lyrics, disrupted plans when she felt trapped, and stormed out of recording sessions mid-argument. She was never abandoned for that reason. She made it impossible to stay, which is why she held strings in her palm, kept hearts at bay, and shrouded each farewell in smoke. She wasn't doomed by love. Linda made sure she never lost in yet another battleground. Forget all you believed you knew about teamwork when you enter Linda Ronstadt's workshop. It was a battlefield, not a place for music. She destroyed suggestions rather than merely rejecting them. Her stare, according to engineers, might cause the air to freeze. Musicians remember practices that left them with broken confidence and smashed doors. Until every instrument submitted to her vision, she would not sing. Without singing a single line, she would use the harshness of her voice to hush the entire audience with one off note or disagreement. When someone tried to challenge her intuition, she used perfection as a weapon, wielding it like a sword. Producers who believed they were directing a star soon discovered they were in the middle of an uncontrollable storm. Walkouts were commonplace rather than uncommon. Tantrum rumors were an understatement. There were tense occasions when someone pretended to be ill in order to get out of the studio. She wasn't a diva, Linda. Something more deadly was her. Additionally, there were many guitarists in the Los Angeles area. At the Triador Bar, I got to know them all. I met Don Henley, Glenn Frey, and Bernie Lean, you know. At the Triador Bar, I got to know them. An artist who demands complete loyalty and has neither a leash nor a filter. And you either broke or bowed in that studio. Her purported sisterhood with Dolly Parton and Emmylou Harris was far from harmonious. Linda arrived prepared for the fight of egos that lay behind their historic trio album. Blending wasn't enough for her. She insisted on being in charge. Song selections turned into contests for dominance. Strategic warfare was created out of vocal combinations. It wasn't cooperation. It was a quiet battle. Linda pushed on control, even as Dolly attempted to mediate and Emmylou looked for equilibrium. Her voice had to take the lead. It had to be her style. She had to be too much to handle. Rehearsals occasionally devolved into shouting confrontations, and Linda's demands caused studio sessions to come to a complete stop. 3 golden women in perfect harmony were seen by the globe. However, many who were involved with the initiative recall something completely different. There was so much tension that it permeated every line, every look, and every silence. Linda didn't only question the group interaction behind the scenes. She broke it, and the cracks she made persisted long after the music stopped. The tension with Stevie Nicks was subtle yet incisive. Linda challenged Stevie rather than merely disagreeing with her. Every industry event, picture opportunity, and shared green space turned into a quiet battleground. Stevie, who was renowned for her serene elegance and ethereal charm, made an effort to maintain good relations. She wouldn't play that game, Linda. Stevie's manner was criticized by her as dramatic. She referred to her songwriting as soft. Furthermore, Linda made it apparent that she wasn't there to share but rather to dominate when the two crossed paths during significant career events, award shows, magazine articles, and radio rotations. Linda was the first to cast icy looks behind the scenes. Linda insisted on being given first billing. Linda made it apparent that there could only be one spotlight and that she would accept it, even if it meant displacing Stevie from the frame. They had a rivalry without words. Public grins stretched over secret strain, deliberate snubs, and icy silences were all manifestations of it. A single throne to legends. Only Linda, though, made sure that everyone understood that she would never be subordinate to anyone, particularly not to Stevie Nicks. Made an effort to maintain civility. Linda hardly paid attention to the game. She was previously referred to by David Geffen as the label's future, a crown jewel set to usher in a new era. However, Linda Ronstadt opposed having a throne constructed by outsiders. Her goal was to establish her own kingdom. Scream by scream, block by brick. She burst as Geffen attempted to mold, and polish her into his ideal of a star. She broke contracts in the middle of a conversation. When executives presented her carefully chosen photos to project during meetings, she burst out laughing. The system that sought to elevate her was ridiculed by her. She quickly rejected Geffen's whole album concepts, which were created by elite producers. She wasn't silent in her defiance. It was loud, public, and relentless. She responded more forcefully, using destruction rather than words, when Geffen retaliated and attempted to regain control. Burning bridges he had spent years developing, abandoning projects, and breaking promises. The consequences extended beyond the individual. It was fabled. Careers changed, deals fell through, and her name wasn't mumbled with awe in the smoky backrooms of the business. It seemed like a cautionary tale. Linda Ronstadt wasn't challenging. She posed a threat. Furthermore, she didn't simply reject those who attempted to mold her. She ensured that they would regret trying at all. No one left Linda unharmed, whether it was through management, romance, or teamwork. She had an electrifying, erratic, and frequently explosive presence. She wasn't only a challenger. She took them apart. Band members were cautious. Helpers arrived and left like the wind. She may cut you out like a rhyming verse with just one incorrect note or question choice. Everything that she couldn't control she burnt. She apparently lived on conflict because it gave her energy and fuel. Yes, her fire lit up the charts, but it also destroyed trust, deals, and relationships. She didn't form partnerships. She put them to the test, broke them, and went on. The odd thing is that she never apologized or turned around. Linda's rearview mirror showed only smoke and no regrets. Because in her view, being ungovernable, unrepentant, and untouchable meant having control, which in turn meant surviving. You got burned if you couldn't keep up. The debris in her wake resisted disappearing. As time faded the spotlight, even after Linda left the stage, her disturbance could still be heard in boardrooms and studios. She did more than just have an effect. She caused unsolved and raw harm. Veterans of the industry don't talk nostalgically about her. They use caution when discussing her. Even now, there are rumors of recording sessions turning into brawls, of co-workers vowing never to collaborate with her again, and of expensive last-minute cancellations. Some people still wince when her name is said, not out of admiration but rather out of recollection. This business bears scars that bear her signature. Scars left by a fire that destroyed everything around her, her inability to make concessions, and her fixation with control. And although some vanished into obscurity, Linda's legacy endured, inscribed on the wounds of those who attempted and failed to subdue her. There was only quiet and the lingering smoke of a storm that never quite passed, no sorrow or apology. Nevertheless, her legend only increased as detractors and co-workers tended to old wounds. It's because of the turmoil, not in spite of it. Because Linda Ronstadt was more than just a musician. She created noise, change, and conflict. The kind that upended friendships, rocked boardrooms, and changed the laws of power. She was remarkable because she dared to be feared rather than because she begged to be liked. She made a name for herself in a field that never really accepted her. She kicked down doors instead of knocking. She didn't hold out for approval. She overcame opposition with force and left a revolt blueprint in her wake. Executives who had previously been too arrogant to compliment her started to realize they had not seen a star. They had made it through a force. The critics who once referred to her as difficult now speak of her with respect, understanding that her resistance to change was armor rather than conceit. Her very disobedience changed the definition of success. Former partners who had previously been alarmed by her ferocity now acknowledged that vision, accuracy, and a mind too untamed to be contained were the driving forces behind the mayhem. She didn't rise to the top by charm. She dismantled and reconstructed the previous hierarchy according to her own guidelines. And the same truth is still conveyed in every backstage whisper, thunderous song, and echo of her voice. I refused to be subdued, not because she was easy or pleasant, but rather because she was required.